When I got to the barn this afternoon, Stewie had gotten his little leg tangled up in the fence. I've been putting off fixing all of the fence for this spring until my neck was feeling a little bit better, but it looks like now I'm gonna have to address this so none of the horses get hurt. It's pretty gloomy out right now, so it will be the perfect day to get this task over with. It was supposed to be around 60 degrees today, but unfortunately with the clouds, it doesn't really feel that nice out. But I am really glad that almost all of the snow on the ground has finally melted.
Hey, Pete. Pete.
The first thing I'm gonna do is clean up this fence line. I'm gonna take down all of the old brackets that are broken or missing. It is really wild to see some of the grass already starting to pop up. I fertilized this whole area last year and it looks like this grass does have a bit of a head start.
Hey, Nigel. Ugh. Stewie. Stewie. Here, buddy.
Since I've started handling these boys more and more, they get a little bit jealous when I'm just out here doing regular chores. I had planned on saddling up Stewie today, but the weather is a little bit crazy right now. We're supposed to be getting some really serious winds and then rainstorms on and off all day long. After today's storms, we're supposed to be getting perfect spring weather. I'll probably even be able to give these guys baths.
Come on, Pete. Pete.
I tried really hard to coax Pete over with a treat. He's been getting a little bit more outgoing since I've been catching him and brushing him every day. Whiplash is still a very jealous beast, so he always comes over and makes sure that he is first in line for whatever fun activity we're doing. I just finished taking all of the old damaged brackets off of the fence.
Boys?
It looks like Pete is also getting a little bit braver and he's finally standing up to Stewie.
Hurry, Peter.
Juggling around all of the horses in the spring is a little bit of a task. I had thought maybe Pete would like to spend some time with Ziggy. I really want to make sure that Ziggy gets out on pasture and Pete needs to be out on pasture as well. If I owned this place, I would definitely make a few more dry lots so I could separate out little groups of horses while they're in. The pasture is big enough that I could probably turn all of the boys out together without them getting into too much trouble. This dry lot is a pretty big one. It could probably hold more horses, but I don't want to risk any of them getting hurt. I've been checking the radar throughout the day and it doesn't seem like it's lining up with what's going on in the actual sky. So I'm just going to keep on doing this task for the day. It'll be really nice to get this done. I have to replace some of the corner tensioners. Thankfully, I do have a lot of leftover things from last year, so I should be able to fix up all of the fence without having to go buy more things. I had a few inquiries about Nigel's little tent. It has worked out perfectly for the entire winter. I got asked about the modifications I made to it, so I'll just go ahead and show you guys before I forget.
Nigel!
I bought this before winter and it was actually on super sale. I think it was less than $200 for the shed. We had a few days over winter where the winds picked up to around 50 miles an hour. I think it definitely would have blown away if I hadn't reinforced it. I did make a few modifications. I've got 3 6-foot pieces of 4x4s that I screwed together. I attached the regular brackets that usually go into the ground to it, and then I put some sandbags over top of the little frame I made. I also stapled the tarp to these pieces of wood, and it definitely held up way better than I had initially thought it would. The ground is pretty wet, so I've been replacing Nigel's shavings a lot just so he has a nice dry place to sleep. I can't get the skid steer in here yet. It is super slick, so hopefully within the next couple of days I'll be able to get this all cleaned out for Nigel. I don't think he minds because he, like Ziggy, loves rolling around in the mud, so he's been a little bit of a turd to clean lately. He is looking really good coming out of winter this year. I'm not sure if I'm gonna clip him again or not. Even though it is getting warmer, if I were to clip Nigel and Pearl, I will have to blanket them again, which is a whole process. So I'm hopeful that their hair is just gonna shed naturally. The last time I brought Nigel in to do his feet, he wasn't quite shedding yet. It looks like Ziggy and Scarlet are enjoying their turnout time. The weather was making me pretty down today, but it was nice to have just a few minutes of the sun peeking through the clouds. I'll show you guys what Pearl's round pen is looking like. I've been cleaning a few loads of poop out of it as it dries up. It's probably 60% sand now. I've got her a little straw bed behind her that she has been laying down in a lot. I'm trying really hard to prioritize all the things I need to get done as it dries out without hurting my neck too much. I'm going to get back to this fence before it starts raining again.
Boys. Peter.
As soon as I got done fixing the fence, it started drizzling a little bit, so I took a break in the truck. I noticed that Pete was standing by the gate and I thought maybe he would let me come out and catch him. I went in the barn to grab a halter, and by that time Pete was still waiting for me to come get him. Unfortunately, the other horses saw me with the halter and they decided that they should be the ones that get to come in first. In the past, Pete has come in the barn during the spring so he can get his own little space. He is one that does a lot better though if he's allowed to run around and play at his convenience. When we finally get our own place, it'll be nice to build it out exactly how I want it. Days like these leave a lot of time for thinking and planning for the future, so as I get some of these horses caught up and groomed, my wheels are definitely turning, thinking about how best to set up a property for the kind of horses I typically get in. Recently, I did see that there has been a horse confirmed to have EHV in our county, So I am going to be vaccinating some of the horses today a little bit early. Since I am planning on traveling quite a bit this summer, I want to make sure all of these horses have the immunity they need in case they do come into contact with anything.
Come on, Whip.
Another question I've been getting a lot is when I'm going to bring home a new horse. I have a few rules for myself about bringing new horses home since I do have so many. Before I'll go to another horse sale, I'll make sure the place is completely cleaned up for the spring. So that means stripping all of the dry lots and runs, turning over my manure pile. I'll fix all of the fencing for the year. I don't know if I'm going to have to reseed because I did every pasture last year. I've got to haul my trailer in to get serviced. It needs to have the mats pulled out of it and then power washed and the floors checked. All of the horses need to have their teeth done. They get their vaccinations for the year. All of the horses have been taught how to accept being vaccinated, so it usually is easy peasy. They get a few treats to distract them while they're chewing. They get vaccinated, and then I give them another treat when we're done. This is one of my big pet peeves. I don't like it when horses will not stand for the vet, so that is something you have to teach them, and all of my horses go through a little protocol.
How you doing, girl?
I was really happy that Scarlett was exceptionally good this year to get her vaccine. Last time she was a little bit on the squirmy side, but since she has calmed down so much over the winter, I think that has definitely helped her. When I'm done with each of these boys, I'll be tying them in the little arena where they can stand and think about their manners that they may have lost over the winter. Since it is so early in the season and Tiny's out here running around and playing, I am going to use the tie blocker rings for all of these horses. Whiplash is probably the one that doesn't tie the best. He doesn't pull back, but he does paw a little bit and get impatient. The dry lot out here is drying up pretty quickly. The poop and mud combination is a little bit deep in some areas because there is moisture underneath. As soon as there's no more ice or standing water left, I will be able to scrape out this pen. That is probably one of the most satisfying jobs I do in the spring just because there is a lot of manure built up from overwinter. Even though these horses do have access to the pasture when there's snow on the ground, they don't really go out there too much. With the nice weather on the horizon, I have been trying a little bit harder to get these guys shed out. The first bath of the year is always very exciting, and it's just much easier to get a handle on if these guys have less hair on them. Another task that I need to do before I think about getting any more horses is figure out what I'm going to be doing with Pearl. Typically, I like to quarantine my horses over closer to my house. I have another property that I rent. I do think that Pearl would really like to be over there and have her own little space with a nice shelter so she doesn't have to come in the barn when it's nasty out. Even though I've been putting her in a stall and trying to get her comfortable in a stall with a run, she just is not having it. The neighbor does have a horse over in that area, and I think it might be nice for her to have a friend. She hasn't had one all winter besides a few other neighbor horses that she can see, so it might be nice for Pearl to hang out with another mare. Since Pearl cannot go out on the grass without being very closely supervised, it would also be nice to have her over there because I could pop her out for a few minutes or an hour at a time and keep a very close eye on what she's eating. One of my neighbors also has a bunch of kids, and it's always nice to have a horse close that they can go and pet and give treats to. I would love it if I could find Pearl her own home with her own little kids, but I think at her age it is unrealistic. Even though her health has greatly improved, there are still some things that are of concern. She still is a little bit on the wobbly side sometimes and does get exercise intolerance. Her PPID medication is definitely working because she looks so much better. Unfortunately, the medication does not cure her condition. It just makes life a whole lot easier for horses that do have PPID. She still needs a thorough dental, and I was going to take her to my regular vet, but I do have a different vet coming out to do dentistry on the other horses.
Whoa.
Given her age, I want her to experience the least amount of stress possible, so since my dentist is coming right here and doing all the dentals, I'm just going to wait another week and she can have them done with the rest of the horses. I don't think she's going to have anything serious going on because she's been able to eat hay perfectly fine. But if she needs more advanced dentistry with radiographs or complicated extractions, I can definitely haul her into my regular vet. This time of year, it is very tempting for me to just go to a sale and look, but I know anymore that it is very hard for me to go and not buy anything if I see a horse that really needs some help. Typically, I do have a few horses kind of waiting in the wings for their training. Pete has had the last 2 years off just to try and get his brain right. I feel like he is now more equipped to handle some training. Pete is broke to ride. He didn't really get very far with the more advanced stuff because he did get so nervous. He has actually been very safe to ride. He hasn't ever done anything bad, but he does have a lot of stress, and to prevent any big explosions, I did decide to give him quite a few years off just to be a horse. If you've been watching my channel, you know that Pete is a little bit different than the other horses. Here is a good example. We were just walking casually and then he stepped on a piece of snow that had some ice underneath and it totally freaked him out. Where a normal horse would just go, oh, that's a little weird. Pete thinks that he is probably going to die when something doesn't go exactly right. He doesn't react as severely as he has in the past, so he is getting better, but he still is not a quote-unquote normal horse. I really like training horses like Pete. It's a little bit of a challenge, and it definitely keeps me on my toes. When I worked Prim the other day, I had someone comment that instead of getting more horses like Prim, it would be nice if I could get more horses like Pete. The sale that I attend and pick up these at-risk horses, typically the only value is in how heavy they are. It has changed a little bit over the last couple of years because there are a lot more traders that come and pick up horses, and with the explosion of fake kill pens and rescues, it does change the market a little bit. Even though Prim and Pete are very different horses, I paid almost the same amount for them at the sale. Pete was around $300 and Prim was $400. Even Nigel, who was in dire straits when I bought him, was very expensive for a rescue type horse. His coloring and the fact that he was a stud probably had a lot to do with it.
Nigel.
At $900, I actually think that Nigel is the most expensive rescue horse I've ever bought. He was definitely worth it, but I hope that puts it into perspective that some very nice horses like Prim end up in situations that are less than ideal. She really was never neglected or abused, just ended up randomly at the sale, and I would like to get more of those horses. It is much easier for me to train a horse that hasn't been messed up mentally. It's also more likely that those horses down the road will be able to stay in better homes just because they have a better foundation of training. I think that's a little ways off though, because before I get any new projects in, I do want to make sure that everybody is going under saddle. They don't have to be finished. I just want to make sure I am continuing to put more training on these horses as they are ready. After Tiny supervises some quality time with Pete, I am going to drag the large arena and get everybody their dinner, and then I will be done for the day. My neck is starting to bother me, and I've been trying really hard not to overdo it. I want to make sure I'm in tip-top shape for this summer, so I have been forcing myself to take it easy when I'm not feeling well. I feel like I really didn't get too much accomplished today, but fixing the fence and vaccinating a bunch of the horses does get me a little bit closer to my goal and ready for some new horses sometime this summer.
Peter. Tiny.
With the dry lot mostly dry and the gopher holes starting to pop up in the pasture, it's now time to lock these boys up until spring actually arrives. It won't be too much longer until I'm getting all of the pastures ready to start grazing for the season. In a month or two, it is going to look completely different out here, and I cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.